What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Invincible podcast, probably the best superhero podcast in the universe. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan, and joining me today are my friends Wyatt.
Hey,
We've got TJ.
Oh, hello, it's TJ.
And Bill.
I'm your friend?
Aw.
That was nice. I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Podcast.
that's true.
What's
We do
going on?
usually say like co-host, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nice you've been promoted to friend, Bill.
I like it.
So far, we'll see how this episode goes.
Oh, shit.
you know.
Okay.
Trial run.
Best behavior.
That's right. On this episode, we've got a bunch more listener emails. We're talking about the latest Invincible news. We've got our, Guarding the Globe code. And of course, we've got our full episode breakdown on episode 5, right? We're up to 5, right?
Yeah.
Jeez, we were just talking about this and now I got all confused. We're right in the middle. So with, of course, our doodles and our predictions for episode 6. But we're going to start it off with the latest Invincible news. Now, we're recording this one a little bit more in advance than normal, so there's not going to be a ton here. So I'm assuming there will still be the trailer for episode 5 that is released along with any other teasers that come out. But so far, we did get the poster for episode 4 featuring
Awesome.
Battle Beast, Nolan, and Alan.
Good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one. As well as a few new merch items, including the 2 shirts, the Alan one and the Battle Beast one.
Ooh, a new Battle
So-
Beast one.
My favorite T-shirt that I own is the Battle Beast, like the previous one, and that's so close, but he's in a different pose. So
Yeah,
I
close.
have to get that one. I will be
Yeah.
getting that one.
I wore
It's
the
a
shit out of
similar,
mine, too.
like font. Yeah. Mine started to peel a little bit, so I might end up getting that one too as a replacement.
Yep. I'm still holding out hope for a black and blue hoodie. I want the hoodie, but and I want the same one that TJ has, but the one that has the black and blue.
Do you know how much money they would make if
It'll
they
happen.
made all the alternate marks?
Oh, geez, just have different
Oh,
versions.
wow.
Could you fucking
That would be
imagine?
great.
I mean, TJ would be broke.
That would be really cool.
We are bringing up merch, but
Go
that
for it.
merch is no longer available, correct?
Yeah, if you're watching this, it probably
I-
is not. It usually by
it goes down
Thursday
on-
is when they pull that merch and then have the
Say-
new.
Yeah.
Until February 18th. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's more like we're talking about it to,
Yeah, it's the following
Yeah.
Tuesday. You have until the day it releases to the following Tuesday. So it went down last Tuesday. But
So
that's
look
okay.
out for new merch from this episode. And
Yeah,
since we're in the
today.
past, we don't know what it is. What do you guys think the merch
I was just about to say,
will be?
is this
That's a
something-
good. I
If
like
it's a
that
machine head
being
shirt,
a thing.
I'm buying it.
If it's what?
If it's a machine head shirt, I'm gonna buy it.
Oh, it's
There
a-
has to be.
I was
There
going to
has-
say maybe it's Titan, but you know what?
Yeah.
Machine Head.
It
Yeah,
could be
that would
Titan
be- I would
and
love
Machine
that.
Head because there's usually 2 shirts. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'd be
Oh,
down.
Wyatt, you need a Machine Head shirt. That'd be so cool.
I really do.
Maybe they do something cool with like Mr. Lou's dragon or something. Like
Oh,
wrap
yeah.
it around a shirt or something.
That'd be
That
cool.
would be cool. And then that's it for the news as we know it. I'm sure there is more. We'll talk about it on the beginning of the next episode if there is. But other than that, we've also got our partnership with Ubisoft Barcelona Mobile, where we're celebrating season 3 by giving away reward codes. This one, because we started last week with Wyatt, this one's actually going to be mine. This one's Ryan S3. So you can redeem that one for a copy of Robot. As well as the latest updates that came to the game. There's a handful here. Let me switch over to the image. The game has officially been out for 1 year.
cool.
So there's been some like cool stats and everything announced.
Happy birthday.
44 heroes total. That one was pretty cool. And they're also giving away not only some gems but a Battle Beast if you use code BBEAST.
Ooh.
So there is that as well. Of course, they've got the play along for this week's tie-in to the show where you're playing against Titan and Multipol, and of course some like 2 times elite events and everything like that. So cool celebration of the 1-year anniversary for the game.
Hey, Ryan, can you pull up that image again?
Yeah,
TJ, check out Paul's ass in that pose,
oh
man.
my god.
Good
Damn.
one. That's a
Good
one.
job.
It's
Good
almost
job.
like it's almost like he's not even in a fight pose and he's just showing it off.
Yeah, he's just showing it
Yeah.
off.
He knows what he's got. He knows
For the audio listeners, it's multi-Paul. It's not Debbie's boyfriend, Paul.
You have to be, yeah, we have to specify. However,
Fine behind as well, but that was multi-Paul.
so yeah,
Anybody else hear that weird noise? Was I the only one?
No,
heard-
I heard it too.
I heard
Okay,
Wyatt
it was-
cut out for a second. That was it.
I think it was a
Was I
ghost.
cutting out?
It sounded like someone sending mail, like that sound, like.
It sounded like an old NES game when a jet takes off.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it. So listeners probably won't either, but that's interesting.
Okay.
All right. Moving on though, let's talk about some emails. Now I like doing the emails right now because it kind of feels like a little bit of a previously on. So this is what some listeners wrote in after watching, the previous episodes up to episode 4. And I think Wyatt, you're going to kick it off. Now, again, we get a handful, of emails during this time with the new episodes coming out, and we can't quite read all of them. But thank you for everyone that sent in emails. We are planning on doing a live stream soon, where we're kind of just going to, hang out with the chat and answer any other emails or things that we don't have time for on these episodes.
Yeah. But yeah, I have the first one from Jacob. He says, "Dear Invincible podcast, I can't stress enough how much I've been enjoying this season so far. I'm glad that my concerns about Eve were unwarranted, and I'm really interested to see where her plotline goes. I'm also really happy to see that people are discussing the sides of the conflict between Cecil and Mark. It was something I was a little worried about, but I'm glad that there's a pretty even discussion on both sides. I'm really curious what we're going to get going forward. I know the King Immortal story is coming up, but if I'm being honest, that issue kind of felt out of place for me. It wasn't bad, but it quite literally comes out of nowhere, which I guess could be the point of it, but I don't know. I'm interested to see what the show does here. It also means that we're going to get the Mark and Eve dating montage. I have to say, as a kid who grew up on the Spider-Man animated series, this relationship really gave me Spidey and MJ vibes when I read it, and I know that's intentional. Mark and Eve is up there with my favorite comic couples, along with Pete and MJ, Wally West and Linda Park, and Batman and Catwoman. For my question this week, the episode coming out in Valentine's Day, what are some comic couples that you guys like?"
Oh man, it's been a while since
Jacob Goodhart, by the way.
Thanks, Jacob.
since I've read it, so I don't remember the main character's name.
Are you gonna say
But-
Saga?
It's
Alana
Saga.
and Marco.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
They're
are.
so great.
They are the ones.
Yeah. I grew up as a sucker for X-Men animated series and X-Men comics and everything like that. So I have a thing for, I guess, a superhero wearing blue and yellow dating a redhead, like Phoenix Saga and everything like that. That's always been a fan of that.
Yeah.
What about Blue and Black with dating a redhead? Nightwing and Oracle is one I've always appreciated.
Yeah, that's a good
Yep.
one.
That is a good one.
To just comment on your other statement there about it being random, I think that you're right when it comes to the comic, but I think that they made it relevant in that, like, the whole theme is, Mark doesn't kill and he doesn't like to kill. So when that happened, he was very much like, I'm bummed, don't thank me for this. Like, so it kind of, expands the theme or continues the theme of this season so far.
Yeah,
And I think that the show, I think that the show does a good job with the whole splitting it and having these sort of almost two mini episodes with the Alan stuff and this. It does make that part feel a little more like self-contained, and then they can just kind of go on to the Alan stuff afterwards. So I think it works in episode 4 the way they did it.
It also serves as just fun breadcrumbs and like teasers for what's to come. Like that stuff's always great. And you're like you were saying, Bill, like it really they did a good job fitting into where his head is at.
Yeah.
Bill, you're up next.
Yeah. Hi, Invincible podcast. Good God, season 3 started out nuts. I watched the first 3 episodes in one go, but my friends waited until episode 4 came out to watch the first 4 in one go. I watched it with them, and I have never seen them as horrified as when Mark took down the Reanimant and Guardians HQ. These guys really know how to write a scene. As a show-only watcher, I never had the context of what happened in the comics or how the characters acted in the comics. This has allowed me to watch the story unfold in a way that differs from some of my compatriots who have read the comics, like accidentally skipping Omni-Man murdering the Guardians. Um, I have a friend who watches with us that was a comic reader initially. He says that the thing that strikes him the most is the voice cast, as some of them are starkly different from what he would imagine, and some are exactly the same. For instance, he adores how Battle Beast sounds almost quiet and calculated in his bloodlust. He says in the comics he feels as though Battle Beast is a lot more animalistic in the voice he imagines in his head when reading his dialogue. He likes both takes, but thinks they are so interestingly different. So my question to you all is, what characters in the show match up the most to the voices in your head when you read their dialogue in the comic? On top of that, who is the most different? My friend believes that Cecil, despite being a little more quiet, according to him, is almost one-to-one what he imagined his voice to be like in the comic. Love the first half of this season so far, and I can't wait for more. Keep being the best super fans in the universe. Love, Andy, not Milanakis. He corrected me on that one.
I think we can all agree that the one that's the most different is Machine Head. I mean, that was
Oh my
meant
God.
to be.
That one is definitely it's also just because like they decided to sort of do a gimmick with his voice with the whole auto-tune thing rather than it just being mechanical, because I think we would all assume there's gonna be something electronic mechanical about it, but
I never really thought much about it, so that was a pleasant surprise.
I'll take the other obvious one too when it comes to being different was, not everybody loved Seth Rogen as Alan. I still feel like I don't read his voice when I reread the comic, but it's normal to me in the show.
Mhm.
So live action is just it's who he is now. So I've gotten used to that.
Seth Rogen is such a unique voice, though. It was
Yeah.
I don't read it as goofy and kind of like it's just
Mhm.
a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
But man, it's perfect. It's still that one is a pleasant surprise, though. It fits so well with the Alan show.
And I think that Seth Rogen does a good job of not being Seth Rogen. Like he's not that whole like like you were saying and stuff like that. I like, okay, so Cecil I think is great. Mark is perfect. Omni-Man, J.K. Simmons is
God.
like to a T.
Yeah, Mark, Debbie, and Nolan were just like perfect.
I think
like, no notes.
I think the biggest surprise for me was Battle Beast, because I just don't know how I would expect an animal really to sound. And I guess I heard like more growly. But this last episode with him breaking out, like where he was a little bit more animated with his voice, I thought was fucking perfect.
Mine, funnily enough, because Andy calls it out in his email that Cecil was like 1-to-1 for him. I remember first hearing Walton Goggins as Cecil and just not really being sure about it. And I think part of it was that the character design changed a little bit too. Like he's a little slimmer in the show than he is in the comic. And so it took me a little bit to get used to, but within like the first couple of episodes that we get stuff with Cecil, I was immediately kind of won over by Walton Goggins' performance because he's so good.
Yep.
I'll also say that I'm pleasantly surprised so far, or pleased with Kid Omni-Man. I think he's Oliver. I think he's doing a really good job. Christian Convery. I looked it up just to be sure I didn't get it wrong, but I think he's doing a really good job.
There was something going around, I think, on Reddit or something that was an interview with him about how he's read ahead in the comics and everything like that. And they were calling out how his voice is even deeper now than it is.
Yeah,
it was when he recorded for Kid Oliver, and it's like Kid
That was when he was being interviewed like on the red carpet for the premiere.
Yeah,
I saw that clip, and he does sound different now.
Yeah, I was not expecting his voice, like that voice, to come out. I was waiting for Oliver's voice when they were done with the question. And even the way he was like, I definitely like looked into that, but that's not really stuff we can talk about. Or he says something along those lines where I was just like, yeah, let's go. I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Thank you, Andy. Next up, we have one from Caden. Hey guys, I have just recently come across your podcast and wanted you to know that I love the videos. I have been going back and listening to old episodes of you guys from seasons 1 and 2 of Invincible to gain a different perspective of the show. It's always fun to see how much you guys really get into things I just passed over during my first watch. Unlike many of your viewers, I have not read the entire comic book. I just finished the first compendium, so I'm kind of up to where the story is at the moment, not including the latest episodes. I've been debating whether or not to read ahead of the show or just read the comic as the show comes out. I think I finally made up my mind during this week's podcast. I will watch the show, then read the book. The
Oh,
final nail in the coffin was when I was listening to your guys' reactions to seeing the Immortal. You guys obviously saw that coming, but I completely thought it was going to be Mark. I thought the whole story was building up to Mark realizing he turns evil or something in the future. The shock I felt when I saw the Immortal was so great that I decided right then and there that I didn't want to know anything about the future story until the show revealed it. After that, I think I'll go back and read more of the comic to compare the two. But for now, the show is just too good for me to go and ruin any more future surprises. That's all for me. And also, yes, Rudy is a cannibal. Caden.
I will say, like, I mean, your mindset you're not wrong. Like, you thought it was Invincible, and I thought I'm talking about the Immortal thing. So you thought it was Invincible leading up to that. Like, you probably would have thought that if you were reading the comic leading up to it. Same type of way, right? Because it is very much like the comic, but obviously the comic has a lot more, and then the show adds a lot more. We are selfishly going to always say to read the comic first, not only because we did, and that's what we can relate to more, but we want you to come back and see our podcast when we're talking about like the comic stuff and hang out.
But it's not only that, like,
but you're not wrong.
Yeah. Do whatever, do whichever.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna love it either way. The show is kind of we enjoy it both ways as well. Like, we find a lot of enjoyment in knowing everything. The thing that I would recommend the most is just because, like, recommend reading it now the most because this day and age, it's so hard to avoid spoilers. So unless you really aren't online a lot or you're not constantly seeing things on TikTok or whatever, man, it's so hard to avoid spoilers. And we are still so surprised by what they're doing in the show because there are changes. There are references in season 2 and season 1 that they did differently. And that's a lot of fun as well. So we're still getting those really cool surprises. Like you're saying, like, of seeing those things for the first time and still getting those experiences. It's just different. And, but do whichever.
My favorite, when you were talking, Ryan, about like try to avoid spoilers online, my favorite like TikTok I saw reaction to episode 4 was like Immortal saying all his little like Easter eggy lines and was like, man, even characters from the show are spoiling the comics for me.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to avoid out there.
Yeah, Invincible is one of those things where like I always wish that I could watch it again for the first time or read it again for the first time. So for you to be able to experience that in a medium that you're really excited about, like the show, go for it. I totally get it. I'm envious of you to like that you have that conviction, because I'd be like, fuck it, I got to know what happens next. I don't have the ability to not like find out right away. So enjoy it. Enjoy it because it's great.
I bet there's just as many people that were like, I saw that King Immortal scene and I was like, I am reading the books as opposed to I am waiting. You know what I mean? Like, I almost wonder if there's more people that would do it that way. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, read when you do read along, let us know what you think. Because man, there's some great stuff.
I have our next email from Rotan. Either way, that's a cool name. Hello, I'm writing to you from Italy. Oh, prego, pasta, pizza, bagels. I was thinking, I was thinking about the scene with Mark and Eve. It's true that maybe the "I love you" was a bit hasty, but they've known each other for 2 years and have had feelings for each other since the beginning.
It's true.
Now that they're a couple, and after everything they've been through, in that moment when they're alone in heaven, they do well to express their feelings as best they can. When you feel that the person is right for you, you have to say it.
Wow, what a romantic thing to say.
Yeah.
From someone coming from the most romantic place in the world.
That is like one of the things I've really enjoyed about reactions to episode 4 is not just like people freaking out that Battle Beast is back, people freaking out at the fist bump sandwich, like all the cool expected Invincible stuff, but like just to see so many people like having that heartwarming moment to see Mark and Eve finally together and happy, like it really feels like the show audience now has become Invincible fans. It's not just season 1 where it's like, oh my God, this show's so shocking. These moments, like, I can't believe they're doing this stuff. It's crazy. Now it's just like, it's people watching this show and they love these characters and want them to be happy and want them to be together. And it like, it you can really tell how it's made people fans of these characters. Like, it's just cool. I love it.
Yeah. Yep. And we did kind of talk about it as far as the I love you thing. And I think the thing that hits us the most, and it felt a little quick at first, but that's just because we've known these characters and the time it took for the relationship to build. We know they got to speed it up a little bit in the show. And they're kids. Like, they're 17, 18 years old. And what I like most is that they know this too. And in episode 5, they address it, which is really, really cool.
Yep.
So yeah.
Wait, what episode are we recapping right now?
Episode 5.
Okay. Okay.
And we're going to do it right now. So let's begin our issue recap. This one is episode 5. This was supposed to be easy. It has a running time of, I lost it and I was just trying to pull it up. So 1 second.
Filling space.
It has a running time of 1 second.
No, only 1 second. No. Couldn't find it. But anyways, this was supposed to be easy. It was said by Titan when this actually happened in the comics. When Titan first goes to the prison and, he fights with Invincible for a little bit there. He says this was supposed to be easy. Mm-hmm. And that was issue 53. So this one was written by Helen Shang, who wrote and was, I believe, a producer on Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. But this was her first credit in Invincible.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then this one was directed by Tanner Johnson, who directed This Missive, This Machination, which was
my favorite. That makes sense.
They're cool.
I like it.
All right. So first off, impressions. What was your first impressions of this episode?
I thought it was hilarious. I think that Machine Head stole the episode with all his sarcasm. I thought there were really funny moments with Mark and his mom, throughout the episode too, not just the breakfast scene, which was also great. The kicking under the table with Oliver, we'll dig into it, but there's just I don't know. I thought it was just, it's been heavy so far. Yeah. Especially episode 4 was super heavy, both parts of it. This was a good, chill, let's laugh a little bit and get back to some characters that we haven't seen in a while and we love. And a lot of badass moments too.
Yeah. I think that out of what we've seen so far, it was my least favorite. Not saying that I didn't love it, because I did. To TJ's point, it was tonally a nice change of pace. But to be fair, I've never really been a fan of this arc in the comic either. The street level criminal stuff, other than Tether Tyrant, I've never really been a huge fan of. Mm-hmm. Which I've voiced my opinion about that in the comic before, with the t-shirt with the bomb and stuff like that. I was okay, let's get to the crazy shit. But yeah, Machine Head fucking crushed it. There's some little Easter eggs in it that I thought were awesome, and I laughed the hardest in this episode for sure.
Yeah. This episode I think was packed with tons of, you guys said, really funny scenes, whether it is small stuff like the kicking under the table or the very sarcastic, over the top Machine Head stuff. I think I had a similar reaction, Bill, when we finished that. It didn't stand out as my favorite of this season yet because it was a change of pace. And I think it is just that coming off of the end of episode 4, where it's Alan and Nolan fighting Viltrumites in space and revealing the secret that the Viltrumites are, only a few of them, and that maybe we can beat them, feels like this ramping up towards an end game type of situation for the book and for the show. And so to then have that change of pace, to pull back, to start off with just more Multipole and Duplicate and see some of their backstory, I think it was a little bit jarring for us at first, or for me at least. But then rewatching this episode, there's not a scene that I don't love, that there isn't something where I'm just like, God, that's cool, or God, that's so funny. Like, it's every scene was great. And yeah, it was a nice, slower, just like Eve says, let's slow things down a little bit, you know?
Yeah, good call. I also feel like this was one of the best, one of the most well-written episodes. Because like I'm really glad I had to do the recap or the breakdown for this one, because it forced me to be like, I'm watching this 3-4 times because I need to like really take notes and dive into it. Because I was like you guys were saying, I felt like, okay, yeah, this one was good. It was the first one that didn't really have that every episode feels like a finale thing that Robert Kirkman was talking about before the season. And upon like watching the second time, like, oh, this is actually really good. And then the third time, like, oh, this is way better than I had first given it credit towards. And I don't know. I think it was really, really good. And I think it is going to serve as kind of like that calm before the storm and a nice break to kind of move some stories along, especially some that were early season one, getting some great character moments with Mark and Eve that we were just talking about needing to have more time with them. We could not have gone right into the craziness that we know is to come. So this was a necessary episode, and I thought they did a really good job with it. So
I have a question. Did Machine Head come back in the comic? I don't think he did.
Remember?
I mean,
he's
in spinoffs.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
But not in the main Invincible comic, is he?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So it was a nice. I wasn't expecting to see him, and it was a nice, like, awesome surprise.
Yeah, I will say, like, this episode felt like picking up, and I did because I wanted to grab some names of certain characters. This episode felt like an issue of Guarding the Global or Invincible Universe. This felt like the most Invincible fan, like comic book fan geared episode we have ever gotten. Even though a lot of the events that happen in this do happen in like issue 53 in the build up to issue 60. But the way some of this stuff plays out is really, really great. All right, so we start at the penthouse with Titan. We get the song Attitude by We Are the Good, and it's Titan kind of going about his day, and we see that he's talking to his daughter, and we get kind of a glimpse at life is better for them. Him and his family. We get references to the fact that his daughter was sick. Remember back in season 1, like she was sick, and like not only she's fine now, but like she's taking her medicine, she's doing it on her own without him having to remind her. Like all these subtle. That's what I mean. Like there's a lot of those great moments where it's like they did a really good job, kind of doing this whole
connecting that.
Yeah.
And
so she's also, going to a private school. The city looks great where they're walking, they're talking. She's talking about selling cookies to win a computer. And she runs off to go play with her friends. And then, Isotope teleports. That's hard to say. Isotope teleports.
Isotope teleports.
There you go. He pops in and, Titan's immediately like, what have I told you about family time? And he's like, we got a problem, boss.
Yeah.
We cut to the prison and we see Magmaniac and Tether Tyrant again. They keep reminding us that these guys are around, which I appreciate. This is not just, they got the one episode. They keep showing them. So cool.
Wonder why.
Which really quickly, because of how that whole intro was, we've not heard any voice for either of them, right?
Nope.
So we have had no voice actors yet, which is so cool because it could be small names. It could be people that are not really a big deal. But if they wanted to make a big deal out of it, like if we don't hear them later this season and then in future seasons bring them back, because I know that like, I want to say it's Mara has talked about like, wouldn't it be great if it was Simon Pegg and Nick Frost? Like that would be awesome. It would be very cool.
Yeah, it would. I'd love that casting. So we see them, the guards are delivering food. They deliver food to Multipole as well. And we stick with Multipole as he starts to multiply in the cell. They hide his number 1 up in the rafters of the lights. And they continue to multiply and multiply until they're pressed up against the wall, the door, the toilet. They're just smashing around.
So before like number 1, I think, went up into the rafters, when he started multiplying, he phases out of himself. So I was like, oh, he's gonna crush himself in there and try and phase through the wall. And I was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing that makes this really hard to watch and to like be okay with is, as someone who deals with existential dread constantly and fearing my own death, we talked about this a little bit before we recorded.
This.
He feels this. He experiences all these things, so he knows like and to be so claustrophobic and knowing that you're instantly gonna die, like instantly, or be crushed and not be able to breathe. Like I couldn't do that. I'd be like, give me the pot pie. I'll live in prison for the rest of my life. I'm good.
I feel the most bad for the one that helped the number one up into the like ceilings. Like, man, you're real selfless. Like that guy's the real hero. Just sacrifice himself.
So they multiply so much that they burst through the door in blood and gore, and it all just comes pouring out.
Awesome.
It's
the waterfall of blood beforehand. Like it was just it was such an awesome fucking scene, and you can tell that it was Robert Kirkman's idea to be like, yo. This is gonna gross everybody out.
And then when he comes out, it's just like a pile, and he like kind of slips down it because it's just like
he like slurps through it. His ankles get stuck and everything.
Gross. Yep.
Awesome.
This is all set to "Rock the Noise" by Boys Noise, and
I have heard that song before. I don't know where, but that I feel like I've heard it multiple times before. Like that's
shit,
multiple times before.
There's some really great choreography here, especially him like going over the ramp, using another copy to kind of jumping on the walls and everything like that. Very, very cool.
So he tries to go in the scene.
And what's great is they got that little bit of blood on his face, so you have that visual cue of who the number one is that you're trying to watch through the whole thing. Very smart. He tries to escape, but he gets stopped at the door by a guard that's heavily armored, and they clamp a collar on him, and it inhibits him from being able to multiply. And then it cuts to him in the cell or in the interrogation room talking with Duplicate. And she was telling him how she was close to getting him a job at the GDA, basically on the Guardians, like helping out. Which also is very interesting to think that like Cecil was potentially considering bringing Multipole on, which is like, come on. They mentioned Paul calls her naive for the most part, and she mentions that it's Dad's birthday this week, and we get a little flashback to their father, who's kind of gone insane with all these children running around and multiplying, and we actually see a little bit of the like little string or a paper cutout for a second there as children, and it looks like they had to take their father away, and she mentions that he's doing the same. We cut to see that they were tested on as children, trained by some sort of agency we don't know about, and she mentions Paul becoming an assassin and that he ran away without her. He says that you should have come with me. He calls her a murderer because she calls him a murderer first, and he says, "So are you." I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, his whole argument basically is that like she's also working for a gang. They're just the government.
Yes,
like,
and that's how it ends. Like he's saying, like the GDA and the Order, neither of them abandon tools that they're not done using.
Yep.
It was really neat to see the flashback to them as kids. That was from the secret origin in the back of issue 25 of Invincible.
Yeah.
So a cool way to bring that little story up. There was another one in that issue 25 of like Monster Girl, for example. Love to see that one. We've seen the Immortal one.
That's where that one is in the plane. Oh,
yep.
So good.
I know. So hopefully we'll see that. Now we cut to the Grayson home where Eve is outside the Grayson home, and we hear Eve scrambling to leave because they just got woken up in the morning. And he's like, go out the window. And she's like, why are there so many small things? And so
I love that. I love that line because it is like she's tripping over seance dog toys. You know what I mean? Like some Legos.
And she's like, I'll come to the front door. And so Mark goes downstairs yawning. There's pancakes on the table, and Mark and they make a point to show how many pancakes Oliver's eating. And we called it out when we were watching it. He looks a little bigger, right?
like a
He
little
does.
longer. Yeah,
He does.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and Debbie mentions that he's growing. Then Eve arrives at the door, where Oliver calls her out for like, why did you just walk in the front door if you were just upstairs?
Yeah, in Mark's
How'd
room.
you just fly through the window if you were just going to come through the front door?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, like,
I love Debbie's
dude, this
like,
whole thing,
reaction
Debbie,
to
like, oh yeah, oh, I set another plate just in case. I had a feeling, you know what I mean? She knows her knowing the whole time, you know,
Yeah.
Oliver calling him out for not sleeping. They had a sleepover. They were playing all night.
I couldn't sleep because they were too loud while in Mark's room, and then the kicking
Yeah,
started.
the kicking. So the kicking
so
under the table while Eve is like rambling about making pancakes and like blueberries, and it was so funny. It was so funny.
the kicking
So
under the
good.
table was almost as funny, if not the same level of funny as the Invincible on the stairs.
Yeah, yeah,
the,
it was. Yeah.
Yep.
Like it was that level of fucking funny. It was and I was like, please keep kicking each other. Please keep going.
It went on just long enough. It was perfect.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And it's I think part of the reason it's so funny is that we just watched Oliver go through somebody, you know what I mean? And now they're kicking each other under the table like angry little siblings. And it's
yeah,
just,
they're
like,
siblings
it's
too. They're
adorable.
brothers.
Yeah.
Like they're not
Yes.
like Mark is a father figure, but it's
Yeah.
still his little brother that he's like, shut up.
That's
Yeah.
why I mean this episode had a lot of important character development as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mark brings
All
up
right, I'm liking it a little bit more
I'm
now.
telling you,
Ryan,
by
now
the
that
time we're done.
watching it. Okay, all right.
Mark brings
It
up
reminds me of like that meme where there's like somebody at like Disney World and they're like, I don't think I like Disney World, and then it shows them like with a bunch of Mickey balloons. I think I'm starting to like
cream.
I think I'm starting to like Disney World.
That's right. That's right. So Mark brings up getting an apartment with Eve. Debbie's kind of apprehensive about it, but ultimately she's like, well, you're adults. And there's a nice line of Oliver saying that he would miss hanging out with Mark if he moved. Cut to the rooftop where Mark and Eve are sitting, and they're serious about actually moving out, but how are they going to afford it? And Mark's like, well, can't you just build a house somewhere? And Eve's like, there are zoning laws, that I can't just do that. And Mark says that he's going to have to get a part-time job, and Eve has an idea. So we cut to the prison, and Eve is walking through in her business attire, and she is pitching to the warden that this opportunity. She talks about how the GDA is slow and the prison doesn't have the funding it needs, and this hero actually helped out just the other day. Like, this would be a real benefit to you guys. And she asks, "Who are you with again?" And Eve says, "Invincible Inc." But we get the title card.
Title card, yeah.
So, and then we go back to the penthouse where Mr. Liu is talking with Titan. He is very upset with him for not freeing Multipole. Titan talks about how he tried the other day with Furnace and Kursk, when Mark and Oliver showed up. Like, we didn't know at the time that that's what that was, right?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
I couldn't remember.
Because they have him saying like they have Isotope telling him like you got to do something about this, otherwise,
Was that the same episode, or was that the episode previous?
That was the same episode.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the episode before it. And so we see them. Well, he talks about how he tried to do it, and also he heard that they have a superhero on retainer now. Like, I'm not going to go in there; it's too hot. We got to wait. But Liu is insistent, and he actually threatens his daughter, Fiona. So Titan rushes out of there looking for his daughter, but she's fine. But she does bring up the fact that she sold all of her cookies to a nice old man with a metal mouth.
Yeah.
And so he's like, you got to stay home until I say so. And then we go back to the Grayson house where Mark doesn't know how to set up his own email.
You said that so disappointed. Like, you sound so disappointed in him.
He's so dumb. I love it. I love how much they're leaning into him just not knowing just like the kind of like the basic stuff.
Yeah.
And it just makes Eve all the better that she is like putting up with him and able to be the brains. So she's helping with that, and Debbie comes to the door and like worried about something. Eve like immediately like flies behind his bed.
Oh my god! And him tossing the pillows over to hide her
and hitting her in the back of the head with the
yeah. I do like Disney World.
See?
Mark goes
And
to the
again,
door.
like that's funny because we're seeing these characters like punch through each other and do these like incredibly, difficult things. And now it's like, oh my God, I gotta hide because your
Yeah.
mom's at the door. Like it's
Yes.
just so funny. It's great.
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, and like this episode, I think we've been talking lately how every episode feels like it's the kind of shot for shot, almost word for word, the comics. This one has a lot that's not, yeah, there is a lot that is, but this one has a lot of stuff that's not in the comics. And these little moments are so great.
Yeah.
Because she says that Oliver's gone, and we'll get to that too, because that's another scene. But Debbie says that Oliver is gone. We get another quick scene back at the penthouse where Titan is talking to Isotope about Mr. Liu, and Isotope is like, "Yo, this is a test. He could get him. He can get him himself, but this is what you have to do. You have to like show the order that you're willing to play ball, and you have to do as you're told. Because the last guy got eaten, and Titan brings up Machine Head, and he's like, "How did Machine Head handle this?" And he's like, "Well, he knew when to shut up, but deep down he always wanted to run the order." And it's left at that. And it's like, you see what they're doing? Then we get Mark and Eve looking for Oliver. They're flying over the city. Mark has a great line where he's like, do I call Cecil? He's got cameras everywhere. They spot him and they fly down to hide in a tree. And they're watching Oliver skateboard with some friends, but they're yelling at him for like using his powers while trying to do it. Did you guys see who the voices of the two other kids are?
No, I didn't.
One of them, and could be wrong, but one of them is Abigail Kirkman.
No way.
And the other one is Rex Diamantopoulos.
Cool.
So I wonder if they have their kids voice the kids.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I hope so.
That'd
Yeah.
be smart.
It'd be pretty neat, right?
Yeah.
So there's also like this really fun, like upbeat, like playful version of the theme song happening during this. And he's just being a normal kid, and like Eve and Mark are like kind of like amazed at what they're watching here. Some bullies show up, and Oliver kind of talks back to him, and we get this tense moment of Mark worried.
We were worried too.
Oh yeah.
We were worried too.
And Oliver balls up a fist and ends up just pantsing them. Yep,
Yeah.
just pulling their pants down, and they run away. And he's got powers, and they laugh and go on. Great little scene. It's those moments that this show is able to do. We never got anything even close to that in the comic.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see how people react to this because there's such a strong reaction to Oliver doing what he does in episode 3, and so many people being like, he's Omni-Man's son. Like he's really going to become the next Omni-Man. Like he's this like it wasn't an accident, and he's lying to Mark, and he's like there's this view of him that like really he's this sinister kid inside. So to see him have this opportunity where maybe it's going to go that way and remind you that like no, he is also just an innocent kid too. Like he can be both of those things, and you not really know where he's going to go in the future. That's kind of the point of his character, which like this scene does such a good job of showing us that.
I'm excited for my son Riker to
watch
this episode because I think I told you guys this, but Riker's an agent of chaos. Like he's not, he's a great kid, but he likes like when bad things happen in movies. And when Oliver went to the dark side, Riker was like, he looked at me and he was like so serious. He was like, I don't know how I feel about Oliver right now. And I was like, oh, wow, dude. So to see, I hope that it like really confuses him on how to feel about him. Because the scene was, man, I also don't know how I feel about Oliver. Like, is he being real? Is he just trying to like,
he's being a kid,
act more? Yeah, but is he?
Yeah.
Is he? I don't know.
Yeah, I think he is. I think in this moment he is.
Then we get another scene that wasn't in the comics. Ray is watching reality TV. There's a knock at the door and a letter slides underneath. She goes to pick it up and it's Ray spelled wrong and crossed out and corrected, which is a great nod to the comics because it was spelled the other way.
Do you guys watch it in subtitles? Because they spell Ray wrong.
No way, really?
They spell it the wrong way. Yeah.
Oh, I never noticed.
In the subtitles.
In the subtitles, because the subtitles spells out what.
Yeah, who's saying it. Yep.
Yeah.
And then inside there's a letter, there's a drawing of Rex and Ray eating, and she goes downstairs to the song "What I Needed" by Bombay Beach Revival. Great tone setter for this scene.
Yeah.
And downstairs, Rex is cooking dinner for her. She says it's nearly midnight and the place is a mess. And he said that I just wanted to make you dinner. Sorry, it took me a while. He lights the candles using his powers.
So cool.
Right? And he calls out that it was a meal kit and that he actually can follow directions. And like even though like the art on the meal kit, it looks like a meal kit. It was really neat.
Ryan gets those all the time, by the way, guys. That's yeah. So it made me hate it a little bit because I'm like, fucking Ryan probably is like, oh yeah, I've had that same exact one with asparagus and steak and
and he's actually really good at cooking. Like it actually looks good. They go to sit down and he pulls out the something else that wasn't in the meal kit, and it was some wine that he had stolen from Immortal.
TJ, are you like wooing right now? Look at your face. I've never seen you look more happy.
It's so good. I love them together.
It is
so
good.
And they do. And Wyatt, cheers. They do drink it out of their team.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, I would have.
And yes, it's wine.
Is it really?
This is the 4th episode in a row with wine in it, guys. Like featured heavily. Like they keep showing it. So that was really cool.
Invincible does a good job of always including like food. Like in season 1, we got the Japanese cheesecake. We got the stuff with Mark and Amber going to like the like fair, and they got the different desserts and stuff.
Yes,
I feel like every season there's a few different like shots of food, whether it's like the steaks that Rex made
for the Filipino dessert.
Yeah.
So cool.
And pancakes.
Yeah, pancakes
with Canadian maple syrup.
Yeah.
True.
Do you think there's a call out for? I know it's maple syrup, but it has like the Canadian leaf on it. And then in season 1, we never found out why.
I thought that, but I think it was just
why Mark was wearing a t-shirt that had like a maple leaf on the whole cover of the shirt.
I thought I saw an interview where Kirkman said that like one of his kids was into like a Canadian team or something at the time. When
really?
There was an inside joke with his son about Canada, and that's why Mark is wearing the shirt that says Canada.
Yeah,
but I think this was just a maple leaf to show that it's maple syrup and not necessarily Canada.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know if they show that same container on Telescria. We're gonna.
Yep.
I'm gonna have some questions.
But the wine is super old and really bad, so they spit it out and they're like, "Quickly, eat something!" And there's this funny, cute moment with them, and she's like, "None of this is normal. We can pretend, we can play normal, but we're not normal. But it's still really good." And they touch hands, and there's a glance, and it's just a really sweet moment.
So cute.
And that's all we get of that this episode. Then we go back to the prison where a guard is reading a Seance Dog comic and looks up and he's like, "Oh," and recognizes who it is because it's Titan. This is the guard that is his informant that told him that they have a superhero on retainer.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So we see Titan in the meeting, interrogation, whatever, in the room at the prison, and then Machine Head walks in. He's
well.
Oh my God.
He's not doing well. He's got oil stains. He's got a piece hanging out. And Titan kind of offers to help, and Machine Head knows that Mr. Liu showed up. He's like, so you were visited by a guy with the dragon and the big guy that's the size of the state of Idaho or Kansas or whatever.
Size of Nebraska, but he's not from Nebraska.
Yes. Why? You could probably quote the whole thing.
I might have been listening to a lot of these lines while I'm chopping some of it up currently in Logic Pro on my laptop. Whether or not there's actually a new little remix out, you'll have to just go to our TikTok and find out. I don't know because I'm in the past right now.
That's right. Who knows? What? Just to pause here for a second. What is your favorite line so far?
I don't know
in the whole episode.
I don't know if it's a favorite line. I'd have to watch it a third time because I watched it twice. But I love and it's right at the beginning of this scene too, when he first starts talking, where Titan says something and he makes fun of him, and he was like, where Titan's like, I don't think that's a good idea, and he's like, I don't think that's a good idea.
100%. I laughed at that because it sounded like TJ and Bill arguing with each other. Because Titan goes,
Yes.
I can help with that, and he goes, I can help with that.
Yes. Yeah, I love that part.
My favorite Titan line isn't, or Machine Head line doesn't happen yet. It happens at the end of the episode.
Yes,
so I'll wait.
Yeah, same.
All right.
I know what it is,
Machine Head says, like, there's always a bigger thumb. You have two options. You either free Multipaw or you get eaten by a dragon. But then Machine Head talks about how, we get a hint that Machine Head wants out because they don't know how to take care of a fine piece of machinery like him. So he wants out, and that's where it's left.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get the Grayson house, where Mark tells Debbie about Oliver going out and that he was just a kid. He knows what fun looks like. It's okay. But he shouldn't be sneaking out. Debbie talks about how she can't follow him, and this is kind of that reminder of like, Mark is kind of needed here. But then Mark gets the call from the prison, because outside of the prison, Titan is kind of wreaking havoc. He goes to throw a car, Invincible catches it, and then goes to punch him. But Titan, unrocks, de-shells. I don't know.
Softens.
I don't know if that's much better.
Not that one. Definitely not that one.
All of those are just like, oh man.
So he tells Invincible that there are people dying and he needs help, and Invincible's like, I'm not falling for it again. But he convinces him to go with him, and we get the quick scene of Invincible flying with Titan, and Titan saying, this is still some bullshit.
Yeah.
They go to the same neighborhood from season 1, and it looks different now. Everything's a bit different and better under Titan. Mark, he explains who the Order is to Mark, and it's this other gang that's going to come in, and if I go down, then they're going to come in and they're going to make all this go away, and it's going to go worse. And that's going to happen if I don't break out Multipaw. You need to help me break out Multipaw, because otherwise they're going to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Mark refuses, and Titan escapes through the sewers. Mark goes after him, but he has set up a bunch of people walking around with the same clothes, so he's able to escape. Then back at the Grayson home, Eve is reading her architecture book while Mark is sitting there kind of stoic and upset. And she, reminds him that he did the right thing. Like, Titan is still a bad guy. Like, yes, there might be somebody else out there, but you can't work with a bad guy. And then we go to the penthouse where Mr. Liu is like, all right, time's up. This is it. You failed me. And Titan tells Isotope to teleport him, into the sky and let him find their own way back. But Isotope goes behind Mr. Liu, essentially betraying Titan. And Liu turns into the dragon. There's a fight scene with Titan trying to like punch him to death, but doesn't do much. He gets knocked out of the window, and Isotope says that, there's no way he's going to survive that if he doesn't have his shell. Which, upon rewatch, he starts to form his shell as he's falling, which is pretty cool. The dragon says, guard my body, which I couldn't find the name of his bodyguard. I tried looking it up, but I don't know. Well, wait. What was it that Machine Head said? Nebraska?
Yeah.
I'm going to call him Nebraska.
Yeah, I like that.
So back to the prison, the dragon begins to attack. And we actually get to see the blue guy from the Cecil flashback for a minute. The big guy that he was in the prison with. And at Mark's house, he starts to get the call from the prison, and he realizes he screwed up. He should have listened to Titan, because now they're getting attacked by the dragon. And Eve's like, listen, this is fine. Even if you do screw up, we're together now, which means, we support each other even more when we screw up. And besides, if we both go, maybe we could charge him double. So back at the prison, the dragon is attacking. He's like killing inmates. Invincible flies in to stop him. And we get the song Security by Amo and the Sniffers. There's a really cool fight scene with the dragon. We get that scene with Eve like armoring up, giving him the rope for the mace goes inside the mace, swings that around.
Cool
They do that,
seeing her in her armor too.
of course.
Yeah.
They do that double punch. We get a line from the warden that the anti-teleport field is down. And then we see Machine Head polishing his head. I love the little robot pinup that's in the cell with him. We see Multipole trying to escape, and he can't because he's got the collar. So he just tries harder and harder to the point where he's basically multiplying himself and making copies so that it would break.
Yeah.
Like basically what he did in the cell, but on a much smaller level, to the point where when it breaks, multiple of him fly out dead. Yeah. And during this point, we see Eve putting all the inmates back in their cells, using her powers to kind of put them away. We see Multipole running around, avoiding them. Some more great choreography of him jumping through and like using another version of himself to kick off of himself.
Yeah.
And she manages to stop him by making a structure so big that she just shrinks it down. But what she didn't realize is that there was another copy of him.
You always keep
the one that he kicks off of. Like, yeah, very cool. So he actually did escape. Mark saves the warden from the tower falling over. And in that moment, the dragon actually bites Mark and leaves like 2 huge holes in him. And the dragon even calls out that your powers may come from the stars, but my power comes from beyond this reality. And I want to take a moment here to be like, we started this season with Mark working out to the point where he is so much stronger than we've ever seen him before.
130% more.
Right. And every single time he's gotten his butt kicked this season, it's by something other than someone with like a fist. Right. Yeah. There's been all these different reasons why he's been taken out. And I think that's pretty cool how have continued to find ways to weaken him and to make it a fair fight.
Yeah.
Always ways to make him lose. Eve notices that there's an empty cell. After hearing and seeing a little bit of a green glow, you hear the isotope sound, and she goes in there and nobody's in there, but you see the pinup on the wall. So Machine Head, you assume that isotope got Machine Head out.
Yeah.
And Mark is just getting completely messed up. He does this cool thing where he like destroys the ground so that the dragon gets stuck in it for a second, flies up and kind of like crushes down on its head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he does this really cool, like where his body's open like this and he kind of goes around like a Harrier jet.
Yeah.
And then comes down. It was pretty cool.
And the dragon instantly heals. And this is when Mark yells, we got to charge more than we're charging.
Yeah.
Eve.
Yeah.
Which is great because it's very clear he doesn't know what they're charging. You know what I mean?
No, whatever it is.
All that stuff. He just knows we got to charge more.
Yep. Machine Head teleports into the penthouse and with Isotope, and we see Nebraska holding the body, and Machine Head says, "I'm going to kill your boss." Isotope teleports him into the sky, which was a great that we
teleports to Nebraska.
Yes, and it was cool that we got that line earlier from Titan telling him to do that, and then we get to see him do that. He falls into a building, and then just as the dragon is about to eat Mark, Machine Head says, this almost feels like cheating, but I like cheating.
I like cheating.
Yes. And then the dragon disappears. It's, assumed that he shot Mr. Liu in the head. And Titan tells Mark that, Machine Head wanted to wait until the dragon killed you first. But I figured I'd spare you. And Mark says, I'm taking you to jail. And Titan says, well, thanks for the help, hero. And leaves. Back on the rooftop at the Grayson house, Eve is optimistic about everything. Everything that happened, she had to help rebuild the prison a bit, but it all worked out. Maybe we should hold off on an apartment to getting an apartment together. Besides, Oliver needs him. And Eve has mentioned, maybe that's for the best. I've been feeling like things have been going a bit fast and maybe we should slow down a bit.
Yeah.
And Mark says, so do we keep Invincible Inc.? And Mark says, well, those science stock collectibles won't pay for themselves.
Correct.
And as we talked about, like, I love this. I love that they're slowing down a little. They're saying, okay, we know we've been trying to rush this, but at the same time, we know we've been rushing it. So let's slow down a little.
Yeah.
Then we've got Debbie picking up the toys inside the house. Mark comes in and they talk about how Oliver deserves to be a kid after all. And Mark says that him and Eve aren't going to get an apartment. And Debbie's like, oh, thank God. And Mark's just saying that he just wants to be home right now. And Debbie says, the more you grow up, the more I realize not everything is black and white, and you're doing just fine, And by the way, I know you and Eve are having sex.
So good. What, Mom? What?
Yeah, cleans and leaves.
Yeah.
Yep.
One part I think we didn't go over. One of my favorite parts of this episode too was when he got the call or like the text message that he was needed at the prison, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And he like in front of his mom, and he like looked up, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, Mom." I thought that was really funny. Like a slow.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Still apologizing to his mom for cursing in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
Very cute.
So Mark leaves that, and then the scene changes, and we all lose our mind because we are around the table in front of the Order. It's the Walking Dread, Insomniac, Slaying Mantis, the Face,
fucking Face,
Embrace, Red Eye, and War Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, what?
The Face,
guys.
So the Face.
So my this is my favorite line of Machine Head. I can't remember what exactly he said, but when he said "fuck you" to Slaying Mantis,
so he walks in. He's in charge now. Because he killed Mr. Liu. Any objections? No. All right. How about any new business? Anybody got anything? Not you. I'm not fucking talking to you.
You see the hand go up, and he goes, yeah. I know it sounded like that was to the room, but I'm not fucking talking to you, Slaying Mantis. So good. That is also my favorite line because it's just so like,
my God.
What happened between the two of them? What's his beef with Slaying Mantis?
You could just imagine Slaying Mantis like, oh,
yeah,
like they have a bug noise.
Yeah. They have created a character that they're going to have to bring back periodically.
Yeah. They got to roast Slaying Mantis.
Riot.
They got to roast him. He's got to be roasted.
So Titan arrives and he says that he wants the city, but he's out. He doesn't want any of this. He just leave me where I've got what I've got, and I'm out of this. And then we get another great line by Machine Head where he's just like, well, and it like goes on for like a minute and it keeps changing. And he ultimately agrees. And then he praises Titan for how well he played him, and he threatens him against backstabbing him again. And then he says, all right, who's ready to make a little money?
So good.
Then we get the last scene before the credits, which is Duplicate at the GDA. She is walking out of the shower and she sees in her locker the little cutout people that we saw earlier in the episode from when they were kids. As teasing up that Multipol is alive and able to get in the GDA.
Yeah.
And then there's the credit scene before seeing, I'm assuming, a dragon temple location that we have never seen before, where Nebraska is preparing Mr. Liu's body. And then he like whispers something and releases the dragon out of his body, and it goes back into Mr. Liu's, and his eyes open. Yeah. And that's the end of the episode. There was I think I said it during the when we were watching it, but the connections with Multipol and Duplicate to Shang-Chi, with them like being kids, being raised in it, being one leaves to become an assassin, and then they grow up and reconnect. I was like, oh yeah, and it's Simu Liu, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was episode 5. Bill?
Okay.
Bill?
Okay. All right. I do still think that the prison dragon fight went a little long for me, but the rest of it, after talking about it, and I hope that everybody else feels the same way, that it's just it's because it wasn't what I was expecting. Like what you were saying after like, holy shit, what's going on? It was like, back on Earth. Like this
and this is also a very like kind of singular story. I know there's different plot lines with stuff going on with Oliver, with Mark and Eve moving in together, but it is all surrounding this like one thing happening with Titan and Machine.
And we've had a lot of episodes this season where they're like split, you know, so it feels like whether it's the Cecil bookend or the prison break.
And like I said,
this is when a lot of like the story just keeps going. Like it doesn't have a lot of those one shot, one off things.
Yeah.
So the further we get into the show, the less there's gonna be.
And this episode,
like I said, this episode was needed because we needed like kind of a break and been able to laugh and
this episode is going to become so important if we ever see more Guarding the Globe or Invincible Universe. Like if we are ever, let me put it this way, if you ever want a best Tiger in this show or in a spinoff show or in any form, this episode is necessary. Like this is laying that groundwork for the Order and for the need for all these other heroes to come in and, you know, go against all these characters. Like, oh my God. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm so excited.
Very cool.
Let's do our doodles.
All right. So next up, we have our doodles. At the end of every episode breakdown, we each doodle a doodle. Not live.
I have predictions.
And it's something from the episode. So what have you guys got?
Someone did.
I've got predictions.
Legs kicking. The kicking
under the table.
That was one of my predictions.
It's upside down.
That was one of mine.
Dude, that's so good.
Yeah, I did the legs kicking
too. Oliver's little legs and Mark's big legs.
Mm-hmm.
I hate you, Wyatt. I hate you every time.
It's Oliver.
I did. Oh, to be fair, I drew Machine Head first, and it looked real bad. I was like, I can't do that. I'm drawing some legs.
My prediction for Ryan is. Did you finally do some wine into a teen cup?
No, it's not.
You fucked up, then. You fucked up.
Sorry. But I was thinking about it. I was going to do the bottle, but I was like, you know what? I have an opportunity. Wine is involved, though. So I should probably
I have one other prediction in case you did it. Okay. Did anybody recreate the doodle that Rex made for...
Of course, I had to doodle the doodle.
Yeah. I almost did, Ryan. I almost did.
It's Doodleception.
Dude, I was so close to doing it.
Doodleception.
Literally, the reason why I didn't do it. The reason why I didn't do it was because I was like, someone else is going to do it. And when I was watching the episode, I saw something before that, and I was like, oh, I got to doodle that. So, any guesses as to mine?
Is it the candles? Him lighting the candles?
Yeah, that's what I was going to guess.
Ooh.
Can we guess everybody? Let's see if we can guess everyone because we're 2 for 2 so far.
Is it something Titan related?
No.
Skateboarding?
Nope.
Oh.
Is it the dragon? Is it Mr. Liu's dragon?
Nope.
Is it Multi-Paul, all the gore?
It is Multi-Paul, no gore.
Ooh.
Multi-Paul,
all right.
no gore.
This was one of my favorite shots. It's probably top 5 for the entire series. I thought this was such a cool shot.
Wow.
Him straightforward and Multi-Paul's running out of him.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
I just thought that was a cool shot of
hanging out the sides of him.
How did you get it so black with a dry erase marker?
I have really good dry erase markers.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. I have really shitty ones because
just an expo.
I did some coloring too with black, and it did not turn out that well.
Right. Yeah, like normally there's streaks.
So no guesses as to what I did? Really?
Has anybody said it yet? Has anybody guessed for it?
No.
So Eve as the wrecking ball.
No.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Come on, guys. Come on.
Did you draw the face?
I drew the fucking face. Let's go.
Nice. Hey, I know you.
Is that Wolfman saying, hey, I know you?
Yeah, it's Wolfman.
That's so good.
That's great, man.
Well done.
Good job on your doodles.
Oh, God.
Still amazed that we are now, how many episodes of doing these doodles? Because we did all 8 of season 2 and now 5 of this season, we've not doubled up yet. We've not any of us drawn the same thing yet.
The closest
Me and Ryan almost did. Almost.
Yeah. Well, was it Alan? When Alan got messed up,
the eyeball,
and eyeball,
and then him through him. Yeah,
that's the closest. It wasn't the same thing, but well, yeah. So that does it. That's our doodles. Now, any final predictions before we go into the episode 6?
I mean, it has to be Power.
Well, yes, it's Power, right? Now, I will say, upon watching this episode 5 episode 4, when it came out on Prime, I was like, oh, I didn't realize they had all the episodes there. Yeah. So I saw the image for episode 6 and it's Powerplex. So it's like, okay.
Well, I think that, obviously they can fit a lot into an episode. So I think that
he won't be
more people got out of the prison than we are led to believe. And someone was kind of indifferent about getting out of prison. And then once he was less indifferent, he turned into Dinosaurus. So Dinosaurus is going to be in the next episode.
Oh my
God. I would love it.
I will say, I think that is going to happen after 7, which is why we're seeing so much prison this season.
Yeah,
I think 7's going to end with a prison break.
Yeah,
I would like to know, and I know we try to avoid spoilers, but what are your guys' prediction on how they're going to set up the penultimate?
If 6 will end.
All right,
with
so we have a lot of we have a lot of show only watchers. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time. I'm not going to get too spoilery. Just wanted to put that out there in case, because we're towing the line right now.
Yeah.
I mean, 7. I think 7 ends with the arrival.
7 ends
Conquest?
with the arrival.
Yeah, I agree.
Conquest, not the Invincibles.
No. Yeah. I think
so. Do you think that 6 ends with the? Yes. Do you think this episode is the episode?
Yeah. This is 59. This is issue 59 in its entirety.
Does that end with it's a start? Does that end with it's a start?
Yes. Yeah.
I think we guys. Okay, here's the thing.
Actually, no, it doesn't end with it's a start.
Okay.
59 ends with Powerplex talking to Mark, but 59, the it's a start was like 57 or 58, I think.
Okay. Yeah, do you guys? That's what I mean. Do you guys think they do that at the end of this next episode? That they give us the it's a start.
The thing that sucks is that I wanted them to do a little bit more Invincible War.
You're saying no.
I wanted them to do a little bit more Invincible War in this episode, just because I'm super eager. But they can't not end it with it's a start. It has to end.
6 is Powerplex and ends with it's a start, and another nod to Angstrom because we haven't seen him in a while. 7 is Invincible War. Ends with Arrival of Conquest.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the question though. So it ends with it's a start, credits, then opening scene, the attack.
Or close.
Really? You think it's going to be like that?
I can see the opening of 7 being it's a start.
Think of like the attack on the fight on Thraxa or whatever. That was one episode. It's not like these things that happen over multiple issues will happen in half an episode.
There was more that there was more that happened in that episode.
That's what I mean. Like
the Thraxan fight wasn't the whole episode.
Invincible War is going to be, 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like it seems like it's not enough, but
I think they're probably going to do a little bit more than I think the Invincible War is going to be going on the entire time, but I think they're going to go to this part of the world, this part of the world. Maybe in space, a space station, someone who's guarding. please.
My only other prediction about the Invincible War is that they'll do the title card when Angstrom is saying, make them hate Invincible. Like, it'll be him like yell. He does that whole line of like, make them fear Invincible, make them hate Invincible, whatever it is. That's when they'll do the title card.
The last 2 seasons, the title card has been building towards something. What is this one going to end with?
Because Ryan, you said for the predictions of 5 that if 5 does not end with it's a start, don't even do it. Because you wanted that space. I don't think you said it on maybe it was after we got done recording. But do you think it would fit at the end of 6?
Yes.
Yeah, they definitely could.
We're running out of time.
I kind of want them to not do it on this episode, just so that the next episode's a surprise.
I'm saying, would you prefer it not happen? Would you prefer it not happen? Is my question.
I don't want it to happen in the same episode as the war. I want the tease.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And if I think the war is going to be in 7, then it has to happen in 6. I'm just saying because there is no other option at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. So we'll see.
Can't wait.
Very
Can't
exciting.
wait.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for listening, watching, all that good stuff. Remember, you can email us to be a part of the show. Send us your doodles. Send us your thoughts on the latest episode. Send us whatever you want us to talk about next. We'll also have a live stream coming up soon, but you can send your emails over to theinvinciblepodcast@gmail.com. Find us on TikTok, Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. We're around. Thank you all for checking us out. And remember, we do have our reaction episodes up as well. So check those out, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
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 The only reason why I'm so confident in that is they didn't give everybody 1 through 7. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
The reason why you're so
They're holding
confident in that
7
is because they didn't give everyone. They gave everyone 1 through 6, except for Ryan. He got all 8 and watched them all.
He's secretly watching them.